The 592nd edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up today with promo code MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Heidi ho, degenerinos. Welcome to episode, what do we got? 592 of the MMA Gambling Podcast and Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to the Say Hey Kid. Welcome to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Jeff, Wiki Capper Fox. We've got a UFC event to cover this week for you. UFC Whitaker versus Aliskerov, aka UFC Sport Washing. I mean, UFC Saudi Arabia. I misspoke. There's nothing icky about them going to Saudi Arabia at all. And with having no female fighters on the fight card as well. Today is all about the prelims. This is kind of a makeshift card. Well, at least the main event is a makeshift main event. Some other fights have been scrambled around as well, but we are set with, it's actually a short stack of fights, only 11 fights. So maybe it won't be a 8-hour night. We'll see. I guess there's lots of propaganda the UFC has to show. So that'll probably eat up the extra time. But today is all about the prelims, and we've got 6 prelim fights. We're going to break it down for you, including the final of the road, one of the finals of the Road to UFC event, which has been postponed 2 times, I think, already. So hopefully
season 3 has already started, and we're finishing up season 2.
Yes. The voice you're hearing is the one and only Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Hello, Mr. Vreeland.
I feel like I had to jump in there because you're going hard in the paint again. It's another fiery Jeff Fox episode.
I shouldn't be fiery.
Are you mad at 12 fight parlays again? Because there's only 11 fights on this card. So
no, I'm not mad about going 7-4 last week and winning $79 either. So I was in the positive again last week. We didn't do last week's recap, so I thought I better throw that in.
We had a whole bunch of. Oh, go ahead.
Gumby went 6-5. So there you go. So I've almost broke even betting $100 in every fight on the year, which is not a way you should gamble, but it's almost profitable for me. Gumby and I both hit our locks. Gumby hit his Adam Fugit dog. Anything you remember or memorable from last week's UFC? I mean, it's
just another one of those main events that's absolutely miserable to me, in that you really want that prospect to take a step forward, and he wins. So in theory, he does, but does so in a way that doesn't give you any confidence and doesn't make the UFC have to put, if he just went out there and submitted Alex Perez, if he sunk in that choke when he was on Perez's back, we would be talking about him sign him up for a title shot. Would love to see him fight Pantoja. And instead, a weird freak injury happens, and we just have to kind of be in the what if zone. So not a lot of excitement there. And that was the only meaningful fight in terms of the ranking. So, at the end of the day, that's why we skipped the recap episode for those of you clamoring for it. And now you get extra PFL picks. So, enjoy those.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't an easily replicable result for Tyrod. The result maybe was, but he's not going to just rip apart too many guys' knees by
back mount,
climbing the back and pulling them down. Maybe Willow, who knows? So that was the only meaningful event as a fight, as Gumby said last week. How about this week's card, Gumby? Anything meaningful on the prelims? We'll just talk about prelims today.
I mean, I think so. There's a whole bunch of fighters that I think people are high on. Obviously, the road to the UFC seems to be giving us some pretty damn good fighters, right? Ray Tetsura is a guy who a lot of people have been liking, and there are other dudes off a road to the UFC. So, who knows? Maybe the winner of this winds up being a player in the bantamweight division. And then, obviously, we've got a couple of people with a lot of hype behind them, right? Shara Bullet's in there. So, we'll find out a little bit about where they're at.
This is the big OV episode. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 fighters whose last name ends in OV today, and then 3
How
more
many
tomorrow.
how many of them are favorites?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a very very good point. All of them, I think. Tomorrow, 2 out of no, tomorrow is switches. Tomorrow there's only one favorite out of 3. So yeah, it's a big. Well, I guess we're headed to an OV area of the world apparently, where they enjoy the OV fighters. Did you know the countdown to football season is on, Gumby? It never stops, really, does it?
I did know that.
Countdown to football season is always on, and SGPN has you covered. The college football experience is doing individual team previews for every college football team. That's a lot of teams. Plus, SGPN's 5-minute fantasy football is your quick and dirty podcast, getting you prepped for all things fantasy. So check out both. Subscribe, watch, all that good stuff. All right, UFC Fight Night time is here again. Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, on my anniversary. What a blessed day that they're going to Saudi Arabia, June the 22nd. It is on ABC, 12 p.m. Eastern start time for the prelims. Actually, the prelims are on ESPN. The main card, ABC in the States. Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. 11 fights, as I told you. We're going to give you the first 6 today. Tomorrow, we're going to give you the top 5 and all our fancy dancy plays. We'll start with the aforementioned Road to UFC final from last season. Kept getting it delayed, but they're actually going. Hopefully, they're going to hop in the cage on Saturday afternoon. Long Xiao from China versus Chang Ho Lee from South Korea. 3 5-minute rounds at bantamweight. We're going to tell you about Lee first. He's 9-1. 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, never been finished in a fight. This is his UFC debut. I assume they're counting these as official UFC fights since they are on the UFC card.
Maybe.
Yeah. If they win, I'm not sure. This man is 2-0 on road to UFC. That's how he got to the finals here. He's won 3 straight fights. All of those wins will come via TKO. He's not lost since April 2022. Used to fight at flyweight, as pretty much every flyweight and every bantamweight has done in the past. He's 1-0 in 1 championship, so this is a big step down in competition for him. On the road to UFC, he's outstruck his opponents by 3.27 strikes per minute. He's got better grappling stats as well. Over Long, he's at plus 105. Long, 26-8, 4 knockouts, 9 submissions. He's been knocked out 3 times. This is his UFC debut as well. 2-0 road to UFC. He's won 4 straight fights. He's not lost since October 2021. 0-1 on a contender series. Was regional champion. Used to fight at featherweight. An inch of reach over Lee. 4 years younger. More active line strikes than Lee. He's outstruck his road to opponents by 1.64 strikes per minute. He's at minus 110. So pretty much a pick 'em to start things off.
I'm gonna go with Chang Ho Lee. I've been back and forth on this fight a bunch of times. Mostly just because at the very beginning, Long Xiao's fight against Kamakubo, ranked pretty high in my head. And then, you go back and watch that fight. He definitely had some issues with Kamakubo's wrestling. He does get right back up after he gets taken down almost every single time. But then I think you can attribute most of his success to Kamakubo just kind of being confused in the striking and not having a good idea of what he's doing on the feet. Xiao is maybe not the most technical striker, but as Kamakubo tired and as Kamakubo began to fail a little bit on his takedowns or not be able to get them as often or not want to shoot him as often, Xiao kind of took over and let his hands fly, and it wound up working for him. Here in this fight with Chang Ho Lee, I think Chang Ho Lee is not as good of a wrestler as Kamakubo. Obviously, Kamakubo has a really high wrestling pedigree, but I do think it's good enough to get Long Xiao down and win some of the rounds that way, the same way as Kamakubo did. And then in addition to that, if the fight does wind up staying on the feet, I think Chang Ho Lee can hang with Xiao better than Kamakubo can. I think his striking is a little bit higher than Kamakubo there. So even if he just steals the first round with his wrestling and then it doesn't work out, I like his chances to at least win one of the last 2 rounds with better strikes. It's sort of a coin flip, and he only needs to win one of the 2 flips in order to win this one. So I'm gonna go with Chang Ho Lee here. But I think this fight is lined perfectly. This is a really tight fight.
Yeah, I ended up on the side of Lee as well. His finishing ability, as you said, he's a solid grappler as well. And I like his resume. A lot of times when it's a close fight, it comes down to resume for me. Long built his resume up fighting cans on the Chinese regional scene, which has not produced a heck of a lot of fighters who have excelled in the UFC. I like Lee's fought in one championship, so really,
yeah. Well, and also
the best in the world. So.
Also, it's worth noting that Chang Ho Lee's last win was over Zhao Posse, and he has looked really good in the third season of Road to the UFC. He's like a really high level opponent with like some pretty damn good wrestling in his own right. And like Lee gave up some positions in that fight, but like sneaky, that's like a really good win too.
There you go. All right, we're starting off with an underdog. Gotta like that. All right, moving way up to light heavyweights. Magomed Gadzhiyasulov, another our first actually of the day. As I told you, he is from Bahrain. He is fighting Brendson Ribeiro, as you probably guessed, is from Brazil. 3 5-minute rounds at light heavyweight. Tell you about Ribeiro first. The gorilla, or in Brazil, would he be the gorilla? Probably. Right? Hey ho. It's early, but I still got the jokes. He's 15-6 with 1 no contest, 9 knockouts, 6 submissions. So he's finished everyone. He's been knocked out 3 times, submitted twice. He owes his rounds. 0-1 in the UFC, 3-1 over his last 4. He did get TKO'd in his last fight. His UFC debut. It's kind of, I think that loss is kind of aged fairly well.
Zhang Yang? Yeah,
Zhang Yang. Yeah. He's looked like a beast. So yeah, I don't think there's any shame in that. Not tipping my hand here. 1-0 on contender series for Ribeiro. Regional champion. Used to fight at middleweight, an inch of height, 6 inches reach over Gadzhiyasulov. 3 years younger as well. More active landing strikes than him. This is really small sample sizes for both these guys. Ribeiro, his strike differential is in the positive despite losing last fight. He's at 1.64 over contender series in the UFC. And so he's outstruck his opponents by over a strike in half a minute. And he's at plus 260 despite all that. Gadzhiyasulov, MG is his nickname. His initial is amazing. 8-0, 4 knockouts, 1 submission. This is his UFC debut. 1-0 contender series. Better striking and grappling stats than Ribeiro based off 1 fight. And in that fight, he outstruck his contender series opponent by 3.727 strikes per minute, minus 310. Had to watch tape, remind myself of these guys. Well, I knew Ribeiro. I had to remind myself of MG. I'm going dog. I'm taking Ribeiro here. And MG looks good. He hasn't fought anyone good, which is an issue for me. Ribeiro has got a lot of power. He's got a lot of reach to use that power over Gadzhiyasulov. He's fought a lot better competition. He beat the LFA champ. What's his name again? Another Brazilian. He beat him, and he's the champ again. I'm going to look it up. He beat him in the contender series. Bruno Lopes. Yes. He beat him, and I don't think Gadzhiyasulov's fought anyone near that level of fighter. So give me a big dog here. I'm hoping his chin is not destroyed from getting knocked out in his last fight. And I think Ribeiro can hang with MG.
You took Ribeiro against Zhang Yang too, I will remind you, and I'm going to be on the opposite side of you yet again. Gadzhiyasulov is going to be head and shoulders better than him striking. In my opinion, the big problem with Ribeiro is he's got those long arms, and he really likes to just sling it as hard as he can. And against technical strikers, that's going to cost him more often than it's going to score for him. And then the other thing that I have a real big problem with Ribeiro is anytime he gets backed up against the cage, he absolutely positively tries to punch his way out. He doesn't circle out. He doesn't try to work his way out, intelligently with like a couple of jabs and then do something clever. He just gets backed up and then he tries to wildly brawl. And as a result, he winds up overextended all the time and gets tagged by people who are not even as good of strikers as he is in the first place. Now he's fighting a guy who I think is a better striker than him, much like I thought Zhang Yang was, and who has knockout power. Gadzhiyasulov also throws that front teep to the chest, which
nonstop.
Yeah, nonstop. He loves that kick, right? And with Ribeiro being a guy who I personally think is at his absolute worst when his back is up against the cage, you don't want to be fighting a guy who's going to teep you back to the cage and you're just going to accept that, right? And so I think that's going to happen here. I think Gadzhiyasulov is going to tag him when he gets off balance, when he throws one of those really long punches that he does and overextends himself. I think he's going to get tagged the same way he got tagged against Zhang Yang. And for anybody who's, still maybe not sold on Zhang Yang or Brendson Ribeiro doing like silly stuff, go back and watch his last 2 fights before he got signed to Contender Series 2. He fought in Shudo. And when he was in Shudo, like, same thing. He got backed up against the cage. He got thrown on. He absolutely positively was getting tagged by much worse fighters. he wound up hitting like trips and getting ground and pound finishes, and that's definitely not happening here against Gadzhiyasulov. And I think that more likely what's going to happen is the Zhang Ming Yang fight. So yeah, give me Gadzhiyasulov. Numbers may be a little high for light heavyweights, but I still like him here.
I've also seen Gadzhiyasulov get dropped by lesser fighters too, so we shall see, right? We shall see. All right. We'll have at least one different pick as we hit the event on Saturday. All right, before we move on, Pick 8 is now live. We checked, and it looks like it's still live on Underdog Fantasy, even though the NBA finals are gone. You can create entries with up to 8 picks, and Underdog will automatically double flex entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win your entry. With more picks to make and extra ways to win, the excitement is higher than ever. The best part, you can win up to 325 times your original amount. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Do you have any picks? What sport's still going on? Baseball. You're good at baseball, Gumby. Do you have any baseball picks for us?
Sure. On Thursday, because you should be getting this on Wednesday. On Thursday, Logan Allen is going to be pitching against the Seattle Mariners, and he's had a couple of rough games in terms of strikeouts right in a row. I think he's only had 3 in the last 2 games, and I think won the game before that, if I'm not mistaken. So his strikeout projection is probably going to be pretty low. Mariners strike out almost 10 times a game, more than anybody in the league. He had 7 the 2 games before those. So take the higher than on Logan Allen's strikeout projection.
It sounds like someone's been doing research for an article. You have all that info right at your fingertips. Just saying. Whether Pick 8 is on or not, whether you've missed your chance or not, Underdog Fantasy is still up and running, and we still have our promo code, which is the important thing. Make sure you sign up with our code. It helps us and it helps you, as I'll explain. MMA SGPN is the code, and if you enter that, you can claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Who doesn't like some bonus cash? UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. All right, see if we get back on track. Another OV fighter. So Gumby's 1-0 picking OVs, or 1-for-1 picking OVs. We're going down to bantamweight again. Muin Gafurov. He is from another country with a bunch of OVs, Tajikistan, and his nickname is Tajik. And he is fighting against Nicolas, Dalby, a country that does not have.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. I'm sorry. He
Those
definitely
is 3 weight classes apart.
that would be very dangerous. Kyung Kang, that's better. He's more his size. He's from South Korea. Our second South Korean fighter. So Jong hopefully is happier. Let's tell you about Mr. Perfect, aka Typhoon, aka Kang. First, he's 19-10 with 1 no contest, 2 knockouts, 12 submissions. Been knocked out once, submitted once. 8-4 with 1 no contest in the UFC. 2-1 over his last 3, 5-2 over his last 7. Lost his last fight. Was regional champion. Used to fight at featherweight and lightweight. 2007 pro MMA debut. 2 inches height, 5 inches reach over Gafurov. See, he's even bigger than Gafurov. So it would have been ridiculous if Dalby fought him. Better striking, more active landing strikes, and better grappling than Gafurov based off. I guess it's not a super small sample size. So scratch that. Those numbers are legit. Kang is pretty much even Steven when it comes to the strike differential. He's at plus 0.02 strikes per minute. And he's at plus 136 on the most important board of all the betting boards. Gafurov, Tajik, as I said, is a nickname, 18-6, 10 knockouts, 7 submissions. He's been submitted 1 time, so he is very durable. 0-2 in the UFC. He's lost 2 straight. Before that, he won 2 straight, and he's won 3 of his last 7. So it gets worse the farther back you go. Got submitted in his last fight, was the LFA champion before this. 0-1 on Contender Series. He's fought at featherweight, 3-3-1 at championship, the biggest promotion in the world of all time. 2013 pro MMA debut. 9 years younger than Kang. Despite that, he is also an even Steven type of guy. He's at plus 0.03 for strike differential, minus 150. Are you in on an OV again, Gubby?
No, I don't know how.
Neither am I.
Dude, how is Muin Gafurov? Does he have like pictures of Dana White in like a precarious position? Because like I honestly can't figure out how a guy who, by the way, got beat by Chad and Helliger on the Contender Series, largely by being out-wrestled by Chad and Helliger, if I'm remembering correctly. He got out-wrestled by Chad and Helliger on Contender Series, went 0-2 in the UFC, and is somehow, some way, still fighting in the UFC right now. I don't get it. And, like, this seems like the worst possible matchup for him, right? He's a guy who
a favorite. The best part about it, he's a favorite.
Yeah, he's a favorite. I can't figure it out. I'm not gonna tip my hand about like our fancy dancing plays on tomorrow's episode, but like you might see this one in there. Kyung Kang, I mean, like notoriously a really big dude, really hard to get on the inside of and throw those big power punches on. So like that's that kind of method of victory is not there for Muin Gafurov. Kang is low-key like a very good wrestler too, like both in terms of trips and like open grappling, like open double legs and stuff like that. Like he grapples well in both of those situations. I think he's a better grappler than Chad Anheliger is, and Anheliger did fine against Gafurov. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know how this is a dog play. I don't know how much longer it'll be a dog play. But yeah, Kang, obviously.
We're making money is what we're doing here, Gumby. Yeah, Kang is my pick as well. I was very, very pleased to see that this was a dog. Maybe as you've said before, maybe it's the OV thing again. I don't know.
The OV rub?
Yeah, the OV. Maybe if his name was Kang Ov, it would be a different story, but it is not. So we'll take him, and we'll gladly take him. All right, back on track, and we're back in on a dog together. All right, let's move to welterweights. Rinat Fakhretdinov, another OV. He is from good old Mother Russia. None of the satellite states. He is from the big one. Versus Nicolas Dalby. There we go. Now Dalby is finally fighting, and he's picking on someone his own size. He is from Denmark. 3 5-minute rounds at welterweight. I'll tell you about Dalby first. Danish Dynamite, Lokomotivo, which I prefer as his nickname. Danish Dynamite's a newer one. I hadn't heard that one before. Had you?
I think that's an older one, if I'm not mistaken. Also, okay. I want to throw it back to my Muin Gafurov breakdown because I know somebody's going to give me crap for this. Not out wrestled by Chad Anheliger. you know who it is.
About that.
You know who's the guy? I can't remember the name in the comments. Shout out to you though. Who's like
we will not mention his name. My God.
Out counter wrestled. Like 3 minutes of control time for Anheliger in that fight. He did give up takedowns, but like Gafurov just couldn't keep him down. Kang will win the grappling situations in there. Please tell me more about Rinat Fakhretdinov.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you about Dalby first. I'll tell you about Lokomotivo. He's 23-4-1 with 2 no contests, 7 knockouts, 4 submissions, never been finished in a fight. That's maybe the most impressive thing about this guy. He's fought this many times and been in that many battles, never been stopped. 7-3-1 with 1 no contest in the UFC over 2 stints. He's won 4 straight fights. That's impressive as well. And 5 of 6. Didn't see that coming. TKO win in his last fight. He's not lost since June of 2021. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. 2010 pro MMA debut. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 0.6 strikes per minute plus 280. Fakhretdinov, Gladiator, 21-1-1, 11 knockouts, 6 submissions, never been finished in a fight, 3-0-1 in the UFC, 20-0-1 over his last 21 fights. He did get a draw in his last fight, though. That broke his streak. He's not lost since June of 2013. Used to fight at middleweight, regional champion, 2013 pro MMA debut, a Sambo champion, an inch of height over Dalby, 7 years younger, better striking stats, better grappling stats. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 1.89 strikes per minute, minus 333. Pretty steep line, but it's hard to go against Dalby. But Fakhretdinov is my pick. He's just a pit bull of a wrestler. His nickname should be Pitbull. What a great nickname that would be. Anyhow, Fakhretdinov via wrestle death.
I'm with you on this one. I will say I'm really hesitant on, and I would just pass on this line at 333. If you're with me, and I'm gonna pick Rinat Fakhretdinov to win this fight. If you're with me on that, I'm gonna put a little pause on getting anywhere near that line because, first of all, Dalby extremely hard to finish, and Rinat in his last fight, I mean that's a draw only because he completely ran out of gas in the 3rd round. And he's now fighting a guy who does a really good job of sticking around, does a really good job of making you work, does a really good job in terms of cardio. If you're looking for like a fun play, like a Nicolas Dalby round 3 prop, not the worst place you could put your money. I ultimately think Rinat is going to control enough and survive that 3rd round probably. Hopefully he's done something to help his cardio. Hopefully the less travel maybe perhaps helps his cardio a little bit too. The fact that he's fighting a little bit closer to home. I'm going to take Rinat here, but I will say that 3rd round really worries me here because if that happened against Elizeu Zaleski against Dalby, that's kind of scary.
Yep. Dalby drags people into deep water for sure, but Rinat is our pick, but yes, with a caveat, you may want to steer clear. All right, before we move on, let me tell you about, last but not least, Rhythm. If you're betting player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data to help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. And it's never too early to start your NFL projections. I heard the countdown's on to football season. That's what I heard earlier. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Okay. Moving on. Dropping down a weight class. Lightweights. Nasrat Haqparast from Afghanistan, right? Yes, Afghanistan. He is up against Jared Gordon from the United States of America. 3 5-minute rounds. Gordon, Flash Gordon, of course. 20-6 with 1 no contest, 7 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out 4 times, submitted once. 8-5 in the UFC, 1-1 and 1 no contest over his last 3. 2-2 and 1 no contest over his last 5. Won his last fight via TKO. Used to fight at featherweight, missed weight twice at featherweight, or at bantamweight actually, where they're fighting at. So no, actually, never mind. Scratch all of that. He was missing weight at featherweight. Now he's up at lightweight. The missed weight thing was true, but he's at lightweight now, so it shouldn't matter. A multi-regional championship's on his.
Yeah.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store as I spill water on my laptop. Get sticky with it. What else? 2011 Pro MMA debut for Mr. Gordon. He's outstruck his opponents by almost 2 strikes a minute. Very impressive. He's at plus 1.99. Better grappling stats than Haqparast, plus 200. Haqparast, 16-5 with 10 knockouts. Been knocked out once, submitted once. 8-4 in the UFC. He's won 3 straight. Before that, he lost 2 straight. Won his last fight via TKO. He's not lost since February 2022. Used to fight at welterweight. 2012 Pro MMA debut. 1 inch of height, 4 inches of reach, 7 years younger than Gordon. So all that in the positive for him. He's more active landing strikes than Gordon. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 0.53 strikes per minute, and he's at minus 230.
My turn. I'm gonna go.
So, yeah.
I'm gonna go Nasrat Haqparast. I was really close to taking Jared Gordon in this one. As a matter of fact, when they posted it, maybe it's just like I sort of feel like ho hum about Nasrat Haqparast every time he's in a fight, and immediately look to take the dog against him. But, like, first of all, the knockout of Jamie Mullarkey, despite the fact that Jamie Mullarkey's brain seems to now be made of mashed potatoes, like, I mostly think that was, like, a good setup by Nasrat Haqparast, too. And his boxing's always been kind of good, although, like, never looked like it was going to put anybody away. The piece for me here is that, like, Jared Gordon, he sort of needs, in my opinion, his wrestling going, or at least the threat of that wrestling going to get his grappling going. People have to fear that they're going to be taken down by him for him to really start landing with any kind of regularity. And I just don't think Haqparast will worry about that, because Haqparast's wrestling defense is sort of held up over his career, right? Like he's never really been taken down and dominated regularly on the mat. And I do think he's a little cleaner on the feet than Jared Gordon. Again, I was like up in the air on this fight. So seeing like a negative 230 line here on Haqparast. Yeah, that's not like enticing in any way, shape, or form to me. But like, again, not that I want to say past 2 fights in a row, I do just kind of think he's just like a touch better than Jared Gordon on the feet and is going to force him to fight there.
Yeah, I'll take Haqparast as well. More dangerous on the feet. Probably I have more faith in him at this point. Gordon's been around for a while and has been beat up quite a lot as well. And Haqparast is way bigger and way younger. So I think that stuff could make a big difference here, especially at a low weight class like lightweight. So give me Haqparast as well, but as Gumby told you. Caveats again. Sorry, this is a caveat episode apparently.
Big caveat.
All right. Yes. All right, back to the offs. This is the main event of the prelims. Shara Magomedov versus, actually, if you want me to say his full name, is Shara Putin. No, it's Butin, is it not?
Shara Butin. Yeah.
Sharbutin Magomedov. You can call him Bullet, Shara Bullet, if you like. He's fighting against Joilton Lutterbach from Brazil. So Russia versus Brazil. At middleweight, Pilgrim is Lutterbach's name. 38-10 with 1 no contest, 14 knockouts, 13 submissions. He's been knocked out twice, submitted once. Another durable guy. This is his UFC debut. He's won 4 straight fights. He's not lost since June of 2021. He's not fought since April of 2023. He used to fight at lightweight and welterweight, 0-2 in PFL. Is missed weight at lightweight before, but this is up, way up at middleweight. So he should have plenty of wiggle room there. Multi-regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. His shirt, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Get sticky with it and all that good stuff. 2011 pro MMA debut. 2-0 as pro in pro karate. 1-0 in cage boxing. So boxing in a cage, I assume that means. 4-3 as a pro kickboxer and a champion in that realm. 2-0 in Muay Thai. So he's fought in a lot of disciplines. 1 inch of reach over Magomedov, plus 210. Shara bullet, Magomedov, 12-0 with 10 knockouts. 1-0 in the UFC. Was regional champion. Used to fight at welterweight and light heavyweight. 2 inches height, 2 years younger than Lutterbach, minus 245. Give me the Magomedov. I question guys who have almost 50 fights and they're just finally getting a shot at the UFC. So you gotta question that. Also the fact that he hasn't fought in over a year and he's fighting against a guy who used to fight at a weight class, 50 pounds heavier than he used to fight at, and has a lot of power in his bullet hand. So Magomedov's the pick here.
I'm gonna go Lutterbach. First of all, I'm gonna
really,
First of all, I'm gonna buck that he hasn't fought in a year, because he's fought like 3 times in the last 6 months. It's just for karate combat.
Okay, right.
Don't get me wrong, that's not MMA, right? And we can all agree on that. But it's a kickboxing match, and guess what this is? This is essentially a kickboxing match.
Yeah.
Because Shara Bullet's not taking you down, despite the OV at the end of his name, as we saw in his first fight. That's not where he wants it, right? Like most of the time in that fight, if it did get to the ground, it was him throwing wild kicks off of his back in like the most absurd way. And that's actually why I like Lutterbach in this one. Like, he's first of all fought people who will be wild in the cage. His last win is against Andreas Berg Gustafsson, which you can actually catch on the 2nd episode of Dana White's Contender Series this year. I believe he's fighting Pat Pitlick in that fight. So he fought Gustafsson.
My hometown.
Yeah, Pitlick.
Kitchener legend.
So Pitlick is, rather, Gustafsson is a guy who just goes in and throws wild. And in that fight, Lutterbach stayed mostly within himself, did not get sucked into just brawling a brawler and getting knocked out. And like, I mean, watch the end of the first round with Shara Bullet and who is it? Bruno Silva he fought in his last fight. Like, watch the end of that first round. Like, he's getting pieced up at the end there. Like, Silva's hitting him. And like, it's because Shara Bullet wants to throw 3 straight spinning elbows. It's because Shara Bullet wants to throw a spinning kick. You know, like it's because Shara Bullet wants to get crazy. That will work against a lot of people who don't know what they're doing on the feet and who are going to get sucked into something crazy. I don't think it'll work against Lutterbach. And especially with this kind of line here, which I think is just inflated because Shara is so damn fun to watch. I'll take Lutterbach at dog money here.
All right. And disagreeing with each other, but that is okay. All right. I got Magomedov. He's got Lutterbach. After I mark it down, we both have Haqparast. We both have Fakhretdinov. Both have Kang. We both have you have Gadzhiyasulov. I have Ribeiro. And then in the opener, we both have Lee. Did I get all that right?
That sounds right to me.
Awesome. All right. Another episode in the books. A nice, concise episode with lots of winning picks for you. If you want more long form, get in the Discord. We're always chatting in there, sportsgamblingpockets.com/Discord. You can hit us up on Twitter, SGPN MMA. He's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer there and on Instagram. You can listen to Gumby's Top Turtle MMA podcast. Who is on it this week, Gumby?
We're talking to LFA flyweight champion and now coming up on Contender Series, Shannon Clark. And then we're talking to Steven Asplund, who we broke down on yesterday's LFA show.
Canada's own Shannon Clark. Make sure you listen to that. Get in my Substack, moneymma.substack.com. Enter my pick'em contest for this week's UFC event. You can enter that for free. And of course, make sure if you're on YouTube, or even if you're not on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. That would be great. You can hit us up in the comments there as well. But yeah, subscribing is the main thing. Hit us up in the comments if you have issues with if you have wrestling, deep-seated wrestling issues. Make sure you hit us up in there. All are welcome. And of course, we're at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We'll be back tomorrow with part 2 of UFC Sport Washing. It'll be Mr. Perfect Jeff Fox and Locomotivo Gumby Vreeland. Bye-bye.